You know what's really painful? Giving your best to someone and realizing he never truly respected you. You love him, you care for him, you stay loyal, but deep down, you can feel it. He doesn't see your worth. He doesn't value your presence. He takes your love for granted. And the worst part? He's not even doing it consciously. He does it because you've unknowingly taught him that it's okay to treat you that way. Yes, you. Without realizing it, you gave him permission to disrespect you. And now it feels impossible to take that power back. But today, I'm going to open your eyes. I'm going to show you exactly why he lost respect for you and what you need to stop doing before it's too late. Because every woman deserves to be respected, not tolerated. Every woman deserves to be seen, not used. Every woman deserves a love that grows stronger, not one that fades the moment she starts giving too much. Here's the truth. Respect in a man's mind doesn't come from beauty, from kindness, or even from love. It comes from boundaries. A man will love you deeply, but if he feels he can cross your limits without consequences, he'll start seeing you as someone he can manage, not someone he needs to protect. That's the silent shift that happens before the disrespect begins. And once it starts, it spreads like poison. Small comments, cold behavior, emotional distance, until one day you realize you've become invisible in your own relationship. You see, men are wired to test. They test to understand your strength, your limits, your self-worth. They don't do it because they're evil. They do it because respect for them is tied to power. And the woman who earns his respect is not the one who pleases him the most. It's the one who makes him realize she could walk away if he ever forgets her value. So, if you've been wondering, why doesn't he respect me the way he used to? It's not because you stopped being beautiful. It's not because he found someone else more interesting. It's because you started doing things that made him feel too safe in disrespecting you. You started lowering your standards in the name of love. You started accepting crumbs instead of demanding a seat at the table. And that's what we're going to fix right now. Because there are 3 specific things, just 3, that make a man lose all respect for a woman, no matter how much he once loved her. 3 invisible behaviors that slowly destroy your power, your presence, and your value in his eyes. But once you understand them, once you stop doing them, everything changes. His attitude changes. His tone changes. Even the way he looks at you changes. Because a man can't help but respect a woman who respects herself first. So if you're tired of feeling like you're never enough, if you're tired of chasing his attention while he acts distant and cold, this video is for you. Because from this moment on, you'll stop teaching him to disrespect you and start showing him through your silence, your boundaries, and your confidence that you are not someone to be taken lightly. Stay with me until the end because I'm not just going to tell you what those 3 behaviors are. I'm going to help you recognize how you might be doing them without realizing it, and how to stop them in a way that makes him wake up, miss you, and rethink the way he's been treating you. But before we start, remember this. Love without respect will always feel like begging, and no woman should ever have to beg for what she deserves naturally. Let's begin. Let me tell you a story. It's about a woman named Elena. When she met Daniel, she felt something different. He wasn't like the others. He listened. He smiled with warmth. He made her laugh until her cheeks hurt. She believed she had finally found a man who saw her heart, not just her appearance. Every message from him made her day brighter. Every compliment felt like proof that maybe, finally, she could stop fighting for love. In the beginning, everything was balanced. He made an effort. He called first. He planned dates. He said, "I'm lucky to have you." But slowly, things began to change. Not all at once, just small things that she chose to ignore. He stopped texting good morning. He canceled plans at the last minute. He'd go out with friends and disappear for hours, then send a half-hearted, "Sorry, fell asleep" text. Elena told herself it was normal, that relationships change, that maybe she was expecting too much. And every time she felt hurt, she said nothing. She smiled instead. She convinced herself that if she stayed calm, patient, and understanding, he would eventually come back to how he used to be. But what she didn't realize was that her silence was teaching him something, that she would tolerate anything, as long as she could keep him close. One night, Daniel showed up late for dinner again. She had been waiting for over an hour. Her food was cold, her heart even colder. When he finally arrived, he didn't apologize. He just kissed her cheek like nothing happened. And instead of confronting him, Elena smiled. "It's okay," she said softly. "I know you're busy." That night, when he kissed her goodbye, something inside her broke, but she didn't show it. Weeks turned into months. The respect that once filled their connection vanished. He began speaking to her differently, sharper, colder, more detached. He started joking about other women, saying things like, "You're lucky I'm still here with you." And each time Elena laughed, pretending it didn't bother her. But inside she was crumbling. One day she overheard him telling a friend, "She's too nice. She'll never leave me." Those words echoed in her mind like thunder. Too nice. That's what she had become. The woman who never said no. The woman who waited. The woman who forgave before he even said sorry. And that's when she realized she hadn't lost his respect because she wasn't enough. She lost it because she gave too much. She gave up her voice to keep the peace. She gave up her boundaries to keep his attention. She thought that loving him more would make him love her better. But love doesn't work that way. When you love someone more than you love yourself, they stop seeing your love as a gift. They start seeing it as something they're entitled to. Elena began to remember the woman she used to be before him. Confident, radiant, full of life. A woman who didn't settle for excuses. A woman who made people rise to meet her standards. That woman still existed. She was just buried under all the effort she had poured into someone who no longer deserved it. The night she finally stood up for herself, Daniel didn't recognize her. She looked him straight in the eyes and said, "I'm done explaining how to treat me. You already know. You just don't care." He froze. For the first time, he couldn't control the situation. She wasn't yelling, she wasn't crying. She was calm. And that calmness terrified him more than any fight ever could. Because when a woman finally stops trying to be understood, it means she has already decided to walk away. After that, she went silent. No long messages, no calls, no chasing. She focused on herself. She returned to her old hobbies, reconnected with friends, and took care of her body, her mind, her peace. And that's when something strange happened. The same man who used to ignore her started calling again, texting again, asking questions like, "Are you okay? And why are you acting different?" But it was too late, because once a woman rediscovers her worth, she never begs for the same love that disrespected her. And here's the truth behind Elena's story. She's not the only one. Many women live this same cycle every single day. They give too much, hope too much, forgive too much, until one day they realize that what they've been calling love was just fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of losing someone who stopped fighting for them long ago. But love without respect is not love. It's dependence dressed as devotion. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you'll stop chasing men who only value you when they think they might lose you. Now that you've heard Elena's story, let's go deeper into the psychology behind what truly makes a man lose respect for a woman. Because what happened to her wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. And this same pattern repeats itself in thousands of relationships every single day. There are 3 specific things that destroy a man's respect faster than anything else. They might seem small or harmless at first, but they change the way he perceives you, they shift the power dynamic, and they slowly erase the attraction that once kept him chasing you. The first one is over-explaining yourself. When a man starts to pull away, act cold, or disrespect your boundaries, most women react by explaining. They try to make him understand their feelings, justify their emotions, or prove that their intentions were pure. They send long messages, paragraphs filled with, "I just wanted you to know," or, "I didn't mean to upset you, I just wanted to talk." But here's what you need to understand. Men don't respect explanations. They respect silence. The more you explain yourself, the smaller you look in his eyes. Because subconsciously he reads your over-explanation as insecurity, as desperation for approval. A man doesn't think, "Wow, she's communicating so well." He thinks, "She's afraid of losing me." And once he senses fear, the power balance shifts. He realizes he can disappoint you, and you'll still try to convince him to stay. That's when he stops taking you seriously. The moment you stop explaining yourself and start letting your actions, or your silence, speak for you, that's when his respect starts to return. Never justify your boundaries. Never beg someone to understand what they already know. Respect is born in the space between what you allow and what you walk away from. The second thing that makes a man lose respect is rewarding bad behavior. This happens every time you forgive too quickly, every time you give affection to a man who hasn't earned it, every time you let him come back without accountability. You think forgiveness will show him how good your heart is, but all he sees is that he can hurt you and still keep you. Let's say he disappears for a few days, ignores your messages, then comes back saying, "Hey, I've just been busy." You feel relieved he's talking again, so you reply kindly, "It's okay, I understand." You might think you're being mature, but what you just taught him is that your absence means nothing, that you'll always be there, waiting, no matter how he treats you. You have to understand something fundamental about men. They learn through consequences, not words. If every action has a reaction and every disrespect is followed by forgiveness, he'll never change. But if one day his disrespect is met with your silence, with your sudden disconnection, it will shock him. He'll feel something he hasn't felt in a long time, the fear of losing you. And that fear is what brings back respect. Forgiveness should never come before change, because unconditional love does not mean unconditional tolerance. You can love deeply and still set limits. You can care and still say, "No more." That's not being cruel. That's being self-respectful. And the third thing, the one that almost every woman struggles with, is making him your emotional center. It happens slowly. At first, you just enjoy his company. Then you start thinking about him all the time. You wait for his messages to feel calm. You adjust your plans based on his availability. And before you realize it, your happiness depends on how he treats you that day. This is where most women lose themselves, because when your emotions start revolving around him, he becomes the sun, and you become the planet orbiting his moods. He feels it, he knows it, and whether he admits it or not, he starts taking it for granted. Men respect independence, not attachment. They crave the woman who has her own life, her own rhythm, her own energy, the woman who can love them, but doesn't need them to feel complete. When a man realizes that you'll be okay with or without him, that's when he starts valuing your presence differently. So if you've been canceling plans to wait for him, if you've stopped doing the things you love because your focus is all on him, it's time to take your energy back. Reinvest it in yourself, because when your happiness no longer depends on him, his respect for you doubles. Let's recap. First, stop over-explaining yourself. Silence is stronger than paragraphs. Second, stop rewarding bad behavior. Boundaries teach more than words ever will. Third, stop making him your emotional center. You are not a satellite to his world. You are the entire universe. These 3 changes might seem simple, but they completely transform the way a man perceives you. When he senses that your peace doesn't depend on him, that your love comes with standards, that your silence carries more weight than your words, something inside him shifts. He starts paying attention again. He starts respecting your time, your energy, your effort. He starts treating you like someone he could lose, not someone who will always be there. And ironically, that's when love becomes real again. Because love without respect isn't love. It's habit, it's dependency, it's emotional survival. But when a man truly respects you, everything changes. He listens differently. He communicates better. He thinks before he acts. Not because you're controlling him, but because he knows losing you would mean losing something valuable, something rare, something not every woman has: self-worth. So before you ask, "Why doesn't he respect me?" ask yourself, "Where did I stop respecting myself?" Because that's where it begins. If you keep doing these 3 things, over-explaining yourself, rewarding bad behavior, and making him the center of your emotional world, something inside you starts to die slowly. Not all at once, but piece by piece. First, you lose your peace. Then, you lose your confidence. And finally, you lose your sense of identity. You start waking up every morning feeling anxious, waiting for his message. You start replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you did wrong. You start apologizing for things that weren't even your fault. You begin to walk on eggshells, afraid that one wrong word will make him pull away. And that's not love. That's self-abandonment. Every time you explain what he already knows, you shrink your voice. Every time you forgive what he hasn't changed, you lower your value. Every time you make him your emotional priority, you tell yourself, "My happiness depends on how he feels about me." That's how respect dies. Not through a single argument, but through 1,000 small moments where you choose silence over self-worth. And here's the cruel reality. When a man realizes he can disrespect you and still keep you, he doesn't stop. He gets worse. His words get sharper, his tone colder, his effort smaller. He knows you'll still show up. He knows you'll still try. And that's when the relationship becomes one-sided. One person giving, the other taking, until the giver has nothing left. You start losing your glow. You stop smiling the same way. Your friends notice, your family notices. You tell them, "I'm fine," but you know you're not. You're living in constant emotional survival mode, afraid of losing someone who already stopped choosing you. The danger of staying in that cycle is that your mind begins to normalize it. You start believing that this is just how love works, that all relationships are supposed to hurt, that being disrespected is just part of being in love. You convince yourself that if you just love him harder, he'll finally see your worth. But he won't, because people don't respect those who tolerate their disrespect. And here's what's even more painful. The longer you stay, the more invisible you become. He doesn't see your effort anymore. He doesn't hear your pain. You could cry in front of him, and it wouldn't move him, because he's already desensitized to your tears. When you give too much of yourself to someone who keeps taking, your soul starts whispering, "This isn't right." But you ignore it because you're scared. Scared of starting over, scared of loneliness, scared of losing the little attention you still get. But what you don't realize is that you already lost something far more important: his respect and your self-respect. Every time you chase after someone who pulls away, you tell him, "You're the prize." Every time you explain yourself after being disrespected, you tell him, "You have control." Every time you let him back in after betrayal, you tell him, "My forgiveness is guaranteed." And the more he learns that, the less he values you, because what's always available never feels valuable. You have to understand that men are drawn to strength, not aggression, not ego, but emotional strength. The woman who says, "I love you, but I won't let you disrespect me," becomes unforgettable. The woman who walks away quietly, without drama, without warnings, stays in his mind forever. Because she did what most can't. She chose herself. If you keep repeating these behaviors, the consequences go beyond losing him. You start losing the ability to trust again. You start doubting your judgment, your worth, your capacity to love. You build emotional walls so high that even the right man won't be able to reach you later. And that's why you can't wait for him to change before you start respecting yourself. You can't fix a dynamic that was built on disrespect by trying harder. You have to break the pattern, or it will break you. Because every day you stay in a relationship where you are not respected, you teach your heart that disrespect is love. And one day, you'll stop recognizing the difference. The urgency is now, not next month, not after the next argument, not after he promises to do better for the 10th time. Now, because the moment you decide that your peace matters more than his approval, everything shifts. The energy changes. He feels it. And whether he reacts or not, you reclaim something sacred, your power. Men respect women who respect themselves even when no one is watching. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes him rethink his actions. That's what makes him chase what he once took for granted. If you continue doing these three things, you won't just lose him, you'll lose yourself. But if you stop today, if you pull back your energy, if you choose silence over begging, boundaries over fear, and self-respect over desperation, you'll notice something miraculous. The world around you starts treating you the way you treat yourself. You'll start attracting men who value your calm, not your chaos. Men who admire your mystery, not your need. Men who chase your energy because it feels rare, not because it's easy. But it all begins with one decision. The decision to stop teaching him how to disrespect you. When a man truly respects a woman, it's not because she begged for it, cried for it, or fought for it. It's because she held herself to a standard that demanded it. She made him rise to her level, not sink to his comfort zone. She showed him that her love was powerful, but not unconditional. And that distinction changes everything. You see, love without limits becomes chaos. It turns into confusion, exhaustion, and resentment. But love with boundaries becomes strength. It becomes mutual respect. It becomes peace. That's what every healthy relationship is built on. Two people who can love each other deeply without losing themselves in the process. When you stop doing the three things we talked about, when you stop over-explaining yourself, stop rewarding bad behavior, and stop making him your emotional center, something amazing happens. You begin to feel whole again. You wake up lighter. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop waiting for validation from someone who was never meant to define your worth in the first place. You start walking differently, talking differently, existing differently. Because confidence doesn't come from being loved. It comes from knowing you deserve love that doesn't make you suffer. And that shift is powerful, because once a woman stands in her value, a man either rises to meet her or fades away on his own. There's no in-between. He will feel the difference immediately. Your energy changes, your silence speaks louder, and your absence becomes more painful than your presence ever was. That's the kind of respect that doesn't need to be demanded. It's earned effortlessly. through self-control and self-worth. Maybe right now you're thinking, but what if he changes? What if he comes back? Here's the truth. If he comes back to a woman who's healed, centered, and grounded, he won't play the same games again, because he'll realize he's not dealing with the same version of you. You've evolved. You've stopped chasing. You've stopped trying to fix him. And men can feel that difference. They feel it in your energy, your tone, your pace. That's when they start questioning everything they did wrong. That's when the power dynamic flips, not through manipulation, but through evolution. But the most beautiful part is this. Once you truly respect yourself, it no longer matters whether he respects you or not, because you're no longer trying to earn it. You become free. Free from needing his attention, his approval, his apology. You start focusing on yourself, your goals, your peace, your happiness. You start attracting better because you've become better. Before we end, I want you to remember this. You teach people how to treat you every single day, by what you accept, by what you allow, and by what you walk away from. If you accept disrespect, it becomes your normal. If you allow inconsistency, it becomes your pattern. But if you walk away from anything that disturbs your peace, that's when the world starts treating you the way you deserve. Never explain your worth. Never reward disrespect. Never lose yourself trying to prove your value to someone blind to it. Because the moment you stop chasing respect, you start radiating it. And that energy, that quiet, confident, graceful strength, is what makes you unforgettable. Thank you for watching. And remember, the moment you choose self-respect over fear, everything and everyone starts changing around you.